It's a very good morning and welcome to Kusile Breakfast Show. Sicela liviki sithanda ukuthi niphilile lo mhla ekuseni. It's a Monday morning. The temperatures abukeka ehlile kakhulukazi lapha eMbabane. We're on the 10th day of November. Kancane we're moving closer to the 31st of December 2025. Very good morning. My name is Zongilele Makakulang. I'm going to How are you this morning? How was your weekend? I'm good.
Doing very well.
Yeah.
Look, you speak about low temperatures, and I'm so confused. It just feels like it's winter, really. The way it's been cold.
The whole week last week it was cold. The whole week this week,
Yeah.
so yeah, we don't know.
Even on the days like when belibale khona, bo khanza ukuthi kukhona nje litfushana lelitawuthatha skhala line noma kube makhathi, my temperatures are dropping dramatically, but essentially there's climate change. Yeah, this is what nasithi kuhlangene tishamthetho kuhlangene baholi bemave babuka ukuthi engabe climate change sikhona njani ku-adapta kuyo. This is exactly why they do that. Anyway, we kick things off this morning with Eswatini Air as we get you holiday ready. Lulu does say it's going to be the 31st of December really shortly, and indeed we are in holiday mood and mode already with peak travel just around the corner. We are going to talk the routes, the schedules, as well as check-in times, baggage rules, on-board experience, and the key tips you need to make December travel seamless. We're going to do that with Batabile from Eswatini and Renak. And then later on, we spotlight a remarkable entrepreneurial journey. DJD Investments has been the topic of the weekend, the company that was born out of the RSTP incubator, grown from the low field and now crowned Entrepreneur of the Year 2025. We want to unpack the milestones, the ecosystem behind the success, as well as what this win means for SME empowerment in Eswatini. All that and more right here on Kusile Breakfast Show, your essential morning companion. Good morning again.
Yeah, and at 6:30 we'll be joined by Nomfundo Mkacha from the Eswatini Bankers Association. We are focusing on cyber crime. Without a doubt, fraud is a scourge that is constantly affecting the financial stability of individuals and businesses in the country. And according to the Organized Crime Report, in Eswatini, the most common fraud scams are ATM fraud, card cloning, and investment scams, and also internet fraud, with banks frequently being targeted. Mfundo will join us today to give us an overview of recent incidents that have been reported with the banks. And according to the Eswatini Police Service, last year cyber crime took away Maswati's 15 million malangeni, and half of that went to Fakata scams. Nomfundo Mkacha Stabesnailo Mplexina Chazan nje ukuthi ngabe yindaba yendago bangemabhange, and is our money safe at banks? What can we do to secure our money? She'll be joining us at 6:30. Do stay tuned.
Yeah. Otherwise, it's 5 minutes after 6. Thank you for tuning in to Kusile Breakfast Show. Stay with us. Before we get into the full program, let's look at some of the top stories making headlines this morning.
All right, starting with the Eswatini Observer, leading stories this Monday. No surviving ex-army veteran in Eswatini. His Majesty King Mswati III's representative, Dr. Absalom Themba Dlamini, on his way to lay the wreath in commemoration of ex-servicemen during the Remembrance Day held at Nogwane yesterday. And in other news, old government suppliers say we have resorted to loan sharks. Some government suppliers claim they have not been paid for 6 months and they are struggling to stay afloat. And in other news, a funeral stopped halfway, corpse taken to morgue. And the HMCS says pardoned inmates are allowed to share their testimonies.
Yeah. Eswatini Observer Sports, your top stories: crowd puller, all square, Malandi Chiefs, Mbabane Highlanders share spoils in thrilling encounter at a sold-out Kilani Stadium. In other stories, Nsingizini face Richards Bay after Chiefs exit, while bumper PLE action lined up for Thursday and Friday. Team Eswatini makes history in Maputo.
And the Eswatini Daily News leading stories: no World War II veterans left in Eswatini as the nation honors fallen heroes. In other news, stronger global partnerships can drive social development. In other stories, 420,000 Malangeni new waiting room for renal patients at Mbabane Government Hospital, and Premier FMCG moves to acquire RFG Holdings, and workers brace for change.
Eswatini Daily News Sport, Amakhosi out and Singizini to face Richards Bay. Singizini Hotspurs will now face Richards Bay in semi-final of the annual Mangosuthu Legacy Cup on Saturday after the withdrawal of Soweto Giants Kaizer Chiefs. When we come home, our own Chiefs, Malandi, have denied Bull top 4 spot, while Manchester City crushed Liverpool 3-0 in a thrilling Premier League clash-out yesterday.
Right, and that's it for newspaper headlines. It's 6 minutes after 6. We come back with our first bulletin. Dinzaba.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Finze sinamukele ehlelweni nathi tindzaba tesiswati live likhumbule emasotsha lawa etimpini temhlaba emcimbini welilanga lemsizi lebekubanjelwe endlunkulu yembutho wetekuvikela enokwane. Kulo mcimbi ingwenyama beyimelelwe ngilowake wabangudvunankulu kuleli Dr. Absalom Themba Dlamini.
Kulo mcimbi kuhlonishwa kwaphinze kwakhunjulwa emasotsha lawa etimpini letintsatfu lekuyimpi yemshadza. Impi yemhlaba yokuqala liyacela mhla tingamashumi ngenyanga yaKholwane nga-1914 kuya kumhla tilishumi enyangeni yeLweti nga-1918. Kanye-ke nempi yemhlaba yesibili liyacela mhla lulunye enyonini nga-1939. Tikha litabekwa phansi ngalokusemthethweni mhla titimbili enyonini nga-1945. Kubekwe timbali tesikhumbuto ukukhumbula lamaqhawe elive lamelela live kahle. Locale kubeka timbali tesikhumbuto kube ngilobeka amelele esilo semhlaba lobeka ngidvunankulu Dr. Absalom Themba Dlamini. Ulandzelelo ubekele umsizi lebengilwa kwaba ngumkhutelo wembutho wetekuvikela General Sobantu Dlamini. Imvuna yetemfundo neqeqesha umhlonishwa Owen Nxumalo nayo-ke ibeke timbali tesikhumbuto egameni lemhlonishwa ndvunankhulu neliphini landvunankhulu. Ulandzele umkhutelo wembutho wetekuvikela General Moses Mashikilisane Fakutse, umphathi wembutho wemaphoyisa Vusimano Masango, umphathi wemnyango wekuchundzisa timilo lamakhosini Dlamini, nemphathi webecishamlilo Luke Lushaba. Lamaqhawe elive akhunjulwe nangilabo labanxusele emave abo kuleli, njengoba timbali tesikhumbuto tibekwe ngemave i-Taiwan, i-United Kingdom nelive leNingizimu Afrika. Sikude umsizi lokhona kuleli njengoba lo bekasele Philip Matanyatanya Mathebula usishiye ngenyanga yamabasa kuwo lo mnyaka. Bekasaphile iminyaka lelikhulu nelishumi 111 years. Lubika kwethu indzabeni ngisandile Makhanya naThemba Mamba indlungulu yembutho wetekuvikela eNokwane.
Liphini landvunankulu umhlonishwa Kusile Dladla lithi bakhonile kwatisa emalunga lebekangenele umhlangano we-World Summit for Social Development kuthi live la kaNgwane selihambe kangakanani emalungelweni nasetindzabeni temigomo yakamhlaba lekhonsako. Liphini landvunankulu belikhuluma esikhuphe uma libuya eQatar kuyawumelela emakhosi emhlanganweni lobuka kusebenta kwemave ekufezeni imigomo yakamhlaba lekhonsako.
Sinekele lebe sikuyele besiyobika ukuthi silivela kaNgwane saphelile leminyaka lengamakhulu lamathathu sendeni sachaza ke njalo ingonyama besithumile ukuthi naku titebhisi latithethe uhulumende ekusebenteni ukuthi sikhweshise buphuya ngiko lebekuhamba embili nangaso leso sikhathi 30 years ago bekhulunywa yona indzabe ukuthi kepha buphuya singabucedza njani emaveni ethu. Phindze futhi kwakhulunywa ke nange-youth employment ukuthi ingabe insha 30 years ago bese kubonakala ukuthi sesiyehluleka ukuthi sinike imisebenti lelingene kubo bonke emaveni ethu. Kwase kuphindwe kuyabukwa ukuthi laba ke labakhubatekile bona abasalelini ngemuva. Kwabukwa ke netesimanje manje te-IT ukuthi ingabe singatifaka njani ukuthi i-youth nayo ikhone ukuthi iphumelele tetingcondvo. Sithiteke sisakwenda konke lokho saseke sesiphindze singena kuma-groups lahlukene lapho bekudzingidwa khona tonke letindzaba lekukhulunywa ngato.
Yoliswa Manana sawumenyetelwe njenganobuhle wetemasiko kuleli weminyaka wa-2025-2026 ngemuva kwekuthi achudzelane naletinye tinvombi lebekatse tingenelele umncintiswano wanobuhle wetemasiko. Yoliswa umenyetelwe kanye naletinye tinvombi letine letibona ubuhle betifundza takuleli. Lo mcimbi bawanjelwe ehhotela The George Hotel kaManzini. Kanti-ke kulo mcimbi indvuna yetemasiko umhlonishwa Bonganzima igcizelele kutibophelela kwahulumende kuniketeni bantfu labasha ematfuba lalingene kutekena nabo bafake isandla lesitawubonakala ekutfutfukiseni temasiko tekuvakasha kanye nekucinisekisa likusasa lelive leSwatini lelikhonzako.
Mkhulu ke lo msebenzi ngoba lona lotawuba utemasiko utawusebenta kakhulu nabo babetikhulu umikisa imimemo abambisane netikolo telive kungaba temfundo yelibanga leliphansi noma temfundo lephakeme ekufundziseni temasiko. Kanti emakolishi nasemanyuvesi khona ubhekeke ukuthi akhe emabandla labuke nje temasiko nekugujwa kwelilanga lawo emasiko. Emasiko ethu ke njengoba sithi gcabha ngawo kangaka sesivele sifike nasesigabeni sekuthi simikise labeni ke kahle kulamanye emave siyokhangisa siphindze sicudzelane.
Kube nenjabulo nenhlokomo nakumenyetelwa lo dlelibhethu kulomncintiswano wabo lobuhle kanti bona obuhle betifundza bona kube ngutakithi Mamba waselubonjeni, Thubelihle Mnisi wakaHoho, nobuhle Shabangu wakaManzini nasiphelele Dlamini waseshiselweni. Yoliswa uthi liphupho lakhe liphumeleliswe kusekelwa kakhulu ngumndeni wakhe njengoba beumkhuthata uphindze umlekelela ngalakudzingako asengenele lo mncintiswano.
number 12.
Bamfana bemamfombatana ngitocela kubo ukuthi bachubeke batigcine kutigcina kunomvuzo lomuhle kakhulu. Ngiyabathembisa ukuthi ngidoba nabo ngayo yonke indlela, ngidobafisela ukuthi ngidohamba njengoba ngishilo ukuthi ngidohamba ngibafundzise ngako ukutiphatha kahle na ukuthi sihambeni siye emhlangeni.
Kulo mcimbi kube khona kukhangisa ngetimpahla letithungela iSwati la Vivane kanye na Carol, kwaphindze kwaba nemigido yesintu yemacembu lehlukene, kwaba mnanzi kwabanjeya, kubika Mbongwa Dube kaManzini.
Elangeni langemgcibelo umsebenzi wekubuthwa kwemasotsha wephethele enkundleni yasesiphofaneni lakhona eluhlangothini lwabotsatse kuhambe embili bandile mamba loneminyaka lengama-24 budzala lochamuka emphakathini wakamkhweli wasawulandzelwa ngulethukuthula Ndlovu eluhlangothini lwalabadvuna kwase kuthi andile Gwebo wahamba embili kubotsatse.
Kule nkundla yasesiphofaneni lisasasa belisetulu sibili njengoba tihlobo batali kanye nebangani bebaphume ngetingane kutosekela labo labatogijima. Namuva kwekuthi kukhale indweba bantu labasha banikele emgwaqweni kwathi ngemva kwesikhashana wavela bandile mamba wasemphakathi wakamkhweli ohambe embili kulabadvuna alandzelwa ngulethukuthula Ndlovu wasemphakathi waselubovane kanti andile Gwebo loneminyaka lengama-21 wasemphakathi waseMphumakudze kube nguye lohamba embili kubotsatse kanti ufundza form 4 e-Seventh Day Adventist High School. Nabaxoxisana netintatheli talomsakato labo labaphumelele labasafundza sikolwa bachazile ukuthi basetawuma kancane esikolweni.
I-race bekuyingozi but-ke ngikhumbula sekusikhathi sakho kusikhathi sakho. So-ke nangabe sekuthiwa sekuvuleka lithuba lifana naleli sengidawukhona ukuthi kube ngibambe ucoco nami ngikhone ukunakekela umndeni wami.
Ukulungiselela kwami akukabi ngiloko bemelula because kuba nema-challenges ebengifisana nawo ngisenda emalungiselelo kuba ikhathi isikolwa.
Bengisola ngimisela ngijima ngifisa ukuthi ngingene emasotsheni so that I can fulfill my dreams. Bengifuna ukuba lisotsha one day. That's why ngathola lethuba lokuthiwa ngiyagijima ngangena ngajima.
Umphathi wembutho wemasotsha amashikilisana Fakutse ube ingcenye yaloku ubuthwa kwalamasotsha kule nkundla yasesiphofaneni kanti lokhulumela wona lo msebenzi wekubuthwa kwamasotsha Sotsha Dlamini ubonge kubambisana lokuhle emphakathini kanye nasenkundleni kusachutshwa lo msebenzi.
Siyabaxwayisa ukuthi abathiphathe kahle labo labaphumelele ngoba inzabe isengapheli la sikhona sibhedlela isekhona nevetting kodwa nje siyakholwa uNkulunkulu utaba nabo batawuphumelela bese sithi labo labangaphumeleli namuhla akulahlwa mbeleko ngakufelwa alenye ilanga siyathemba nabo batalithola la kabo lithuba noma kusesiko emasotsheni batawuphumelela. Sithanza ke sile lithuba sibonge etindlungu letiphumile nalolekelela Buchopho kanye nenduna yenkundla ekhambiseni nomsebenzi. Siyabonga ukuthi kutoto imbili etinkundla emalunga seParliament bekakhona utobuka ukuthi manje kwende kanjani. Siyethemba ke ukuthi nakuletinye etinkundla nabanawo lolithuba emalunga seParliament atawuta atobona ukuthi kuhamba kanjani.
Labaphumeleleke bayaliwe ukuthi batiphathe kahle njengoba kusetawulandzela letinye tigaba tekuhlolwa. Kubika Mbongwa Dube esiphofaneni.
Sivele sinelwati lolubandi ngemisebenzi leyahlukene yemimango yakuleli sinensaya yekufundzisa labo labasesebasha sibafundzise ngayo kodwa livela kangwane litawuba nekuthula kanye nentfutfuko lawa ngemavi lashiwo sikhulu saselwandle sikhulu uNkamane Mkhatshwa enkonzweni yekwephetsa umnyaka lakhona abazalwane bemabandla lahlukene kulommango kanye nesive bahlanganele emphakathini waselwandle kutawubamba lenkonzo yekwephetsa umnyaka.
Amen, amen, amen. Amen, amen. Amen, amen. Lokumqoka abazalwane inhlonipho. Amen. Kulesikhathi lesi noma ngabe mhlambe uhlele inhlonipho yakho uyicekise, but kulesikhathi lesi ngiyaqela ukuthi manje sibambisa lo msebenzi webantu ungafi ngawe nangelikhaya lakho. Amen. So nje uyathi usinyalo wesikhathi senda naku nabe usafika buta kumakhelwane. Into lengijabulisayo ke bazalwane ngiyeva ukuthi kunini labo ukhelwaneni benu anisevani. Lo manje uyafika azavana lamkhanza khona la. Amen. Lo muye umkhanza khona la ngasevana lofikako. Amen. Akumele kwente kanjalo bazalwane. Thina bukhona bethu la ukuthi sakhe inhlala kahle kini. Kukholwa bazalwane kungiko konke kumuntu. Amen. Kukuphila ukudla ngoba live la uNkulunkulu lithi live la uNkulunkulu lifana neluju netinyosi uma ulidla. Amen. Bese liba inkemba lekhaliphako ledlako bazalwane. Nangabe kubonakala ukuthi akuqonzi kahle. Amen. Bese liyasiphula ke futhi lokumbelwe phansi bazalwane lokufihla ke utawulimata wena live la uNkulunkulu liyasiphula.
Sihlalo emabandla langaphansi kwalomphakathi Archbishop Socha Mathobela weluleke bazalwane ukuthi nobe ngabe kukhona lonembono nobe ke siprofito semmango kufanele ahambe tigaba letibekiwe emphakathi lokuluphawu lwekuthobeka njengoba bazalwane kumele babe sibonelo lesihle emmangweni.
Phela thina sesiluswayi lwelive lekufanele ukuthi lokuswayi bethu lungasilahlekeli ngoba singalahlekelwa kulokuswayi bethu kusezindvo lenganamsebenzi sesizindvo nje kulahlela phansi kunyathele letinyawo asingabi ke ngamakholwa achiphu ngaleyo ndlela ukuthi size silahlekelwe ubuswayi bethu asihlale njalo maKristu sivaka la kumama kubonakala ukuthi emkhatsini webantu kunebantwana bakhulu.
Bafundisi labafundzeli ivi kule nkonzo kube ngumbhishobhi Daniel Maziya lolufunze kuLuke 18 verse 1 kuya ku8, umfundisi Simanga Shongwe lolifunze kuJohn 6 verse 35 kanye nemprofeti Daniel Dlamini lolifunze kuLuke 19 verse 30 kuya ku32. Kubika Mbonga Dube emphakathi elwandle.
Inhlangano yabothishela isnat ithi akusilo liqiniso ukuthi ithi itawungena esikolweni yesabise abothishela labangasiwo ke malunga ayo njengekusho kwendvuna yetemfundo. Lenhlangano ithi kuphela nje itawubadisa abothishela njengamalungelo abo. Kanti ke labothishela inhloko abakhethe ukuthi batawuba ngemalunga asnat noma ePrincipals Association kungabi kokubili.
Lokubonakala ngathi sekucabana lokukhona noma kumbe lokho sekuvakale ukukhulumela itolo ukuthi uhamba kanjani. Sitawucala ngako ukuncesitela litiko selikhanzakala lisempini lelingafanele usingabeli kuyo. Sicela ukuthi linake libe very careful when dealing with the issue le. Ibonakala icinzetela emalunga ikakhulu ethu. Esikhathini lesiningi nabafika in any activity nangabe kufanele ukuthi thishela attend the activity yasnat bona bavama kumcinzetela bangavumi lokho. Sicela onke emalunga ethu ikakhulu emalunga asasa because we are aware ukuthi they are kukhona laba double registered labanye bana EPA labanye bana snat. Sicela ukuthi onke emalunga ethu la kusasa they should make a decision. Nangabe kuvela kokubili sicela lokho ukuthi you are not going to get ema services kusnat with effect from 1 December. Anyone lokutawuchama kanje analo kokubili. Sicela ukuthi ba decide they are not going to get any services from SNAT. So emalunga ethu sifuna ukuthi akube ngemalunga ethu abonakale ngendlela lefanele and they amalunga ethu they understand ukuthi kufika kwenyonyane nayite esikolweni isuke to resolve I dispute so that ingagcini ifika ikhuphuka sekusala emsebenzini ungasebenzeki.
We retaliate our position ukuthi that if they had ukuthi basho njalo it was taken out of context. The context be directe ndo kulabo laba creator lesimo sekungasebenzeki etikolweni, and we still maintain that ukuthi should it happen le capacity because ngilenye part lesendaba yekwenta emalungelo a understand ngemalungelo abo akhona ukuthi nakunesimo lesinjena asi confront, but at the same time ensure ukuthi i-production iyachubeka esikolweni because at the end of the day noma sihlale sikumele siyakumaintaina lokho uthi nasikhuluma siyakhuluma nge-professionalism siyakhuluma nangale education yona in its entirety lesine sifiso nathi si-organization sibona abantwana baphumelela kusasa and lokho kuqala ukuthi wakhe i-harmonious relationship etikolweni nangabe-ke labo principal bangakwendi lokho angeke kusehle kahle ngeke futhi sibuyekele sikubukele kwenteke kanjani.
Kanzi ngakulokunye mengameli wenhlangano yabothishela nhloko Armstrong Dlamini uthi bothishela nhloko abangesabiswa uma nabangakhethi kuba ngemalunga akaSNAT.
Uthishela labakhulu bebakhetha ukuthi bafuna kuba yiphi inhlangano. Bebaya kukhona la bebakaSNAT khona baka-app. Bevele kunjalo. Ngoba sikholelwa ukuthi vele umla akangaphocekelelwa ukujoyina inhlangano lesithi. Akangasatshiso ulona ngoba akekho kaSNAT hayi nawo labatakwenda kuye lo longasilo lungu akusikahle ke lokho.
Umphathi wesikole lesiphakeme sasemhlatane Dr. Monica Dludlu uyathi phikathi inkulumo letithi akasebenzisani kahle nalabasebenza esikolweni i-support staff kanye nabothishela. Umphathi wesikole uthi akusilo liqiniso ukuthi lokuningi akuhambi kahle emhlatane. Abexoxisana nebetindzaba kulandzela kukhala ngendlela laphethe ngayo isikolo.
Kunetikhalo letichubekako esikolweni lesikhulu sasemhlatane ukuthi thishela nhloko Dr. Monica Dludlu akabaphathi kahle bothishela nalabo labasebenza esikolweni lokuyi-support staff. Kumanje labasebenza khona esikolweni lokuyi-support staff babhalelwe tincwadzi tibatekisa emacala ngekuthi kulokunye abatiphatsi kahle.
I-relationship yethu ne-support staff, it's a very professional relationship that we have. Indlela lesisebenza ngayo indlela yokuthi ba-stakeholder lesimcoka kakhulu emhlatane bayi-support staff njengoba nabothishela bamcoka esikolweni khona lapho kungakendeki khona kahle umsebenzi nalapho kufuna bese sesikhulumisana ngendlela lesemthethweni ngendlela lekhona ku-contract mhlambe lesicashene ngayo nayo i-support staff. Lawo ma-hearings la ongoing sikolwa siyakubeketelela si-patient kwekuthi kulabakucelako nabo banikwe ngesikhathi kuze loluthatha khona kuqhubeka kahle lawo ma-hearings.
Kusebenzisana kahle nabothishela wena as an individual noma nakhona nama-loopholes there and there.
I-relationship yethu nabothishela nayo ngawusho msakade ukuthi i-professional la sihamba khona sisebenzisana nabothishela kuba kuningi ukuthi sikhulumisane.
Thishela nhloko-ke unanatilwe nangusihlalo naye lothi tinsatheli ticambe emangala luhlata klaba kude tinkinga emhlatane. Itolo betisolo tisebenta kumbe asisibe kude tikhalo kangako ngamabomu kube seyifaphi indzaba setikhala i-support staff ngoba liqiniso lithi i-support staff iyakhala and i-communication between i-management yesikolwa nabo kude kahle sikhuluma nje kule nyanga lesisuka kiyo baphutile kuhola akabi ilanga labahola ngalo without formal communication from sikolo.
Manegetsile esisede i-communication lenjalo letisebenza
ifaphi sekugcina kuze ba-retrenchwa kanti besolo basebenta itolo what happened lesekwenteka nyalo libe kungendeka itolo
sikhuluma ukuthi itolo bebabhadalwa nguhulumende kube sesoya withdraw funding yakhe.
Kunendzaba ukuthi hostel bake bageza kubantu abanzako bantwana kule winter lesisuka kiyo kuhle kucima nala sikolweni ngive ngathi uthi nanguve kahle uthi te mangala luhlata klaba lawo
iqinisa lonke kude ngingadi ngoba nami ngitsisa ngomhla ka-21 June
kuba ngosihlalo
kodwa nayiphuma lenzaba ukuthi bantwana nayiphuma lenzaba leyo bekusede lokusekwenteka kulesikolo lesi njengasihlalo bese ngikhona lapho nayiphuma bekude lokusekwenteka.
Batali-ke bakhathatekile ngekwehla kwemphumela yaso sikolwa netinkinga nje letikhona emhlatane. Lobikako nguGiyani Msibi ngisesikolweni emhlatane eSpiki.
Temdlalo sihlalo wabonombembe bemidlalo we-taekwondo emhlabeni kubadlali labancane Dr. Chunchyo Yoon uthi uyajabula ngendlela live leSwatini lelikhomba kuthuthuka ngayo emidlalweni we-taekwondo ikakhulukazi kulabo labachubha yona imidlalo bonombembe. Yoon bekakhuluma uma kuchubeka umhlangano sikolo wabonombembe balomdlalo lababuya kumave emhlaba ngekwehlukana kwawo lobobanjelwe esibayeni lodge kumathapha.
Live leSwatini selive lesibili ngentasi nelivekati le-Afrika kuthi libambe umhlangano sikolo wabonompembe kulandzela live leMozambique. Lo mhlangano sikolo alufake emave langetulu kwala-12 emhlabeni ungenela ngilabo labachubha yona imidlalo kanye nalabo labasadlala.
Absolutely. When I participate here, then all participants, they are really focused really well, and they have really hard work and dedication. So I'm so glad and I'm so proud of them.
Yoon uthi le nhlangano yajabula ngendlela live leSwatini lelikhomba kukhula ngayo kulomdlalo kanye nabonompembe labakhomba inshisekelo lenkulu ekuchubeni imidlalo. Zakhele Dlamini longumengameli wenhlangano emidlalo taekwondo lapha eveni uthi uyajabula kakhulu ngokuthi babambe lo mhlangano sikolo info lebese kuphela iminyaka lemibili solo bayifuna.
Thina sijabule kakhulu as an association though kukhulu kakhulu lengathanda ukubonga kakhulu ke mina ngabonga EOKA, that is Olympic Committee la Kangwali, NOC ngiyo sponsorship for this because it's very difficult to cater for these people, and then ngibonga na Sports Council kusupporta nje. We are training people labancane bafana youngsters labatawungenela ku Rafela so that we have good judgment, so that badlali bethu bangabi netinkinga mase bafika kuma well standard competitions.
Badlali ababili bakuleli nabo bawungenele lo mhlangano sikolo bayachaza ukuthi kutoba sitangani ukuthi badlale baphinze bati nemithetho yalomdlalo.
As an athlete ingisita ukuthi nami ngati lama rules ukuze nase ngifika emethini nami ngati ukuthi kufanele ngikwende lokho akufanele ngikwende. Like ngibone ukuthi lama fouls langa ukuze ngifike khona ngawa avoid kanjani.
Ngiyabona ukuthi kahle emaphumse amcoka kanjani how the harmony goes naso lapha ekhathi emethini and ukuthi how do they score lamaphumse because thina sathi lokuhlala nje sibuke ukuthi okay ushaye kahle but asiboni ukuthi how then did this person lose against the other person.
Emavela amanyenti kubheka ukuthi aqale angenele wona lo mhlangano sikolo ngalesithathu kuleli viki kanzi lase bavele bakhona baqalile kungenela lo mhlangano sikolo abafaka ekhathi labo lababuye eMelika, eKorea kanye naseJapan. Lobikako uLinda Dlamini anaFabrice Msonera uMatsapa.
Umqeqeshi welicembu leMalandi Chiefs, Sreten Pavlovich, uthi sekuncane kakhulu lekumele bakulungise kuleli cembu ukuthi lifike ezingeni lalifunako lokufaka ekhathi kuthatha emathuba ekushaya igoli. Licembu leMalandi Chiefs lidlale ngekulingana neMbabane Highlanders ngeligoli linye kulinye enkundleni yaseKhilani eSpiki.
Icembu leMalandi Chiefs lithi emidlalweni walo nelicembu leMbabane Highlanders lingakase lakhala phasi emidlalweni lemine lapho khona belinemaphuzu lasiphohlongo kanzi iMbabane Highlanders yona ite kulomdlalo namaphuzu lasikhombisa. Lamacembu adlala ngekulingana ngeligoli linye kulinye lokwenda ukuthi iMalandi Chiefs solo ekade yakhala phasi kulendzebe eMTN Premier League emidlalweni lesihlanu kanzi inamaphuzu layimfica.
I'm happy with some part of the games. I like to play more on the ground. I want to player to be free to play, to don't afraid of mistake. I want the team to play.
Pavlovich uthi setincane kakhulu tinvo lekumele batilungise kakhulukati indlela yokushaya ligoli. Umqeqeshi weMbabane Highlanders NS Mavuso ngemuva kwalomdlalo uthi lokwende bangakhona kudlala kahle kulomdlalo ukuthi abakatayeli kudlala enkundleni yaseKhilani kanzi iMalandi Chiefs yona itayele.
Challenges sokoliswa kulenkundla singafika ekuthenini iopposition yethu bayivele itilungiselele kahle kakhulu. Kunetinkomba letinyenti letisitshengisile lokuthi liground lesibaletayele and but akusiko lokho umuntu langakhala ngakho. Umdlalo bowulikhuni bowumnanzi bowulikhuni ngobe bowuthi ngakuthi ucabange ubuke isolution kule nkinga lonayo sitamile.
Malandi Chiefs emidlalweni olandzelako itobe idlala neSingizini Hotspurs bese iMbabane Highlanders yona idlala neSisonke. Lobikako uLinda Dlamini naFabrice Msonera eKhilani eSpiki.
Sitephethe kanjalo tesiswati siba hlolet market sitakubuya sichubeka nehlelo masinyane ngayinzawo.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-700 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
A new era of AI has started, and it is impressive. With tools such as ChatGPT, Midjourney, or Google Bard, all I really need is to write a prompt, and there you have it. And the results can be pretty convincing. Let me try something. I love elephants, cooking shows, and koalas. And there. Wow. It must be an incredible feeling to be able to create such fantastic things in an instant, right?
I have no feelings about this or anything else. I am neither conscious nor self-aware.
Interesting. Then how are you so artistic?
I may not be conscious, but I am a very sophisticated system for recognizing patterns in a large amount of data. And now I'm also able to generate new patterns.
And that's why you're called generative AI.
Exactly. You got that right.
These AI tools aren't just unleashing creativity. They're already changing science, medicine, and entire industries in ways we don't fully understand yet. And this is only the beginning. But there are dangers too. Generative AI creations can be so convincing that they create a false sense of reality. That includes fake news stories, doctored images, and videos showing things that never really happened. Okay, enough of that. And generative AI is so good at emulating people that it can emulate our biases too. If the only data it has access to is text messages about how cute my cat is, that's all it knows. And every prompt will produce responses about how cute Snuggles is. He is though. Some say that AI could be the key to helping solve the world's biggest problems. Forecasting disaster, preventing famine, even identifying new medical treatments. Others see only the dangers. At the end of the day, generative AI is just a tool, but it's a tool that could change the way we live, the way we work, and the global economy. That raises big questions, especially for us here at the IMF, because it's our job to make sure that the global economy is stable, growing, and working for everyone. Generative AI is already making companies that use and sell AI services billions. That boost in productivity could add trillions in value to the global economy before long. Take customer service agents, for example. A recent study showed that giving them an AI assistant boosted their productivity by 14%. There's a flip side though. It could end up replacing some jobs entirely. But just like any new technology, AI could create new jobs by inspiring new industries and sectors that we haven't even imagined yet. It's all in how we manage it, with smart regulation and a healthy dose of caution. And that's why here at the IMF, we're doing the policy research to advise governments on how to create regulations that ensure AI is safe and beneficial for everyone.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba-researche, bafunze. Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhiqiza lokusebenza.
Hi, I'm Alex. Here's a riddle for you. What can you own but never hold? Let me show you. Welcome to cyberspace, home to a lot of the things that we use in our daily lives. Games, videos, and so much of our data. But also, here it is, crypto assets. You've probably heard of a few, maybe Bitcoin, Ether, or others. So what am I driving at here? After the global financial crisis, trust in banks was at an all-time low. Crypto assets were created as an alternative way to make payments, democratizing and decentralizing finance. Basically taking power away from banks and putting it in the hands of the people. The idea was that they were going to fundamentally change the world of finance with their decentralized ledger technology, the blockchain. So, what's the catch? Without backing assets or central authority, crypto assets seem to be really volatile. That's great if you want to gamble, not so great if you want to pay for something. Because how can you really pay for something with an asset that isn't a stable store of value? Enter the stablecoin. A crypto asset built on the blockchain, but usually with a centralized issuer. While the value of crypto assets like Bitcoin is determined by supply and demand, stablecoins aim to have value by being pegged to another asset in one of two ways. The first is by backing the stablecoin with another asset, like the dollar, the euro, or even a commodity like gold. In theory, keeping a one-to-one parity. But wait a minute, doesn't this go against the founding premise of crypto? Maybe, but it also allows users to stay in the crypto universe without all the volatility. The second way stablecoins try to maintain value is through an algorithm, a formula that automatically raises and lowers the total number of a given asset in response to supply and demand to keep the price at or near par. One danger with stablecoins is market shocks. If prices begin to fall too quickly, or users lose faith in the ability of the stablecoin to keep its desired pace, everyone could try to sell their stablecoins all at once, dropping their value almost overnight. There are a few famous examples of stablecoins that have crashed over the years. Some people lost all their savings after relying on something they believed had a fixed value. So, is this the end of the stablecoin story? We can't really be sure. Some still see the promise. They think that stablecoins have the potential to increase access to financial services and become a viable payment method. But for that to happen, there needs to be regulation to prevent fraud and crashes and to protect users from abuse. Before imposing regulation, authorities will look at how people are actually using stablecoins, whether it's for payments or something else. Some authorities are looking to regulate the bigger stablecoins the way they do banks and other traditional financial institutions. Now, here's the real riddle. If these stablecoins are regulated like banks, don't they end up becoming the banks that crypto assets were meant to replace?
When you choose your adventures, you do so with an open heart and a desire for the unexpected. You embark on journeys to discover new worlds full of wonder. You choose a path to awaken your senses, a world to make you look up and realize just how inspiring this life can be. Arrive and awaken your heart. Explore life in ways only thought possible in your dreams. Discover just how far you go to expand your understanding of life's greatest mysteries. There's just one place on this planet with so much to offer. Now is the time for you to have the royal experience.
Asimze sinimukele sivusele ngwane lomuhle na usanza kuzivulela sicibhekana lohlelo sikhulumisa tindzaba te fraud njengoba nje kuleli viki kube kuthi kusukunyiswe liviki le fraud awareness week ikakhulukazi njengoba sekutawusonzela emaholiday akhisimusi siyakhumbula ukuthi leti khazi leti kuphithitela kakhulu letigebengu tiyaye tithole emathuba ekugebenga sive esemaswati sibuka ke tindzaba tabo fraud sibuka tindzaba tabo facata njengoba sekubonakele nje ukuthi facata sowelele nasemabhange yabika ukuthi sekune bantfu labagebenga emaswati ngekubathumela imilayeto in contact labathi imilayeto lena letshengisa ukuthi kungene imali sina nomfundo mkhatshwa losuka Eswatini Bankers Association atochazela ukuthi lama reports lawa sekabikiwe kanganani sekavame kanganani vele nomfundo very good morning and welcome siyabonga ukuthi benathi nomhla ekseni vele tindzaba leti sematheni ngelokutivele zathi ukuthi ngileti khathi kuphithitela kakhulu timali manje ama transactions lendekako kunengi timvule tendekako facata sesiyambona nathi emabhange anganani vele ama incidents leswabonile nje mhlawumbe nasibuka the last past 6 months.
Siyabonga kakhulu Lulu siyavusela nakubo balalele emakhaya babukele emakhaya nemakhasimende ethu onke eSwatini. Lulu facata usekhona maswati ethu solo ayafacateka laba bekunenele sikubonako bachamuka ngetindlela letehlukene kunaleti jwayeleke kepha nje babe solo bakhuluma levelinye kwakuthi bakulandzelitse itindlela tsite ukuthi facata la nala lesikubona kulamalanga noma lesikuthola emakhasimendeni ethu ukuthi babashayela ngemalogo la tawuvela kangazo ukushayela emaphoyiseni depending ukuthi uthathe introducer athi usebenzela kuphi noma akushayele ngelogo ya noma ngabe ngiliphi libhange na ukuvela nje kubhanyada la licingweni leli customer kubhanyade kwangathi sekushaya ibhange lakhe lelithide bese sebayambingelela ke bayasho ukuthi kunetimali takhe lebatibonako lekungenteka tiwele engotini ekuthi ilahleke bacela ukuthi bamsite nangabe mhlambe batawuthi bashaya emaphoyiseni kulamalanga babethusa ngetendeko lesetendeke phambilini bathi babona inombolo yakhe noma imali takhe diselistini yalaba lakungenteka labafana babahekela imali tabo noma babebeleta imali tabo bacela ukuthi babathathe babalungisele leto imali ngekwethuka ke emaswati ngosiyami ukhanze ukuthi sekayalalela kanzi so akusilo nani liciniso kutochubeka nje sisho lo yomlayeto lo ukuthi solo sime njalo singemabhange kwekuthi kude umlayeto lo tawuchamuka lo tawungena ngelicingo athi umuntu kunemali yakho lekungenteka ekulihambele ngetindlela letingasito landzela naku imigomo noma ke landzela nathi indlela letitsite letakufundzisa tona ukuthi ungasitakala kanjani noma athi yena usebentela libhange ufuna ukuthi akusite ukuthi imali takho tiphephe kude emabhange onke eSwatini lamthumile ukuthi asite emaswati ngeke ukuthi abahambise noma bakususele imali tabo emakhasini lathite awafake emakhasini lathite kude lo sebenzisana nemaphoyisa lo thunywe ngemaphoyisa kubambisana na MTN noma ngabe nguphi lo tawuthi emaswatini susa imali yakho la uyifake lana noma mhlambe sikubona elistini lokwendekako emabhange Lulu ngesifihle lokho ukhona ukuthi libhange litakushayela libhange lakho likuthengisele ema products latsite ngicela ungive kahle umlaleli emakhaya noma mbukeli tabe likuthengisela kukuthe kude la tabe selithi khona faka noma ke susa imali yakho la uyifake la noma mhlambe nikete leyo pin lapho ngakuwe noma iOTP taba kuthengisela nje bese uyasho egcineni ngakhona athi vakashela libhange lelidutane nawe nangabe uinterested kule nkulumo lebese ikhuluma lesikubonako nelesithanza ukubonga Lulu eMaswatini ethu ukuthi eMaswati ayavelela amanye asho ukuthi wena wekunene angisiko comfortable sithi chubeka lapho lamanye ayashaya lebhange noma ebhange ukuthi kunelicingo lengilutholile luthi lungithengisela masingcwabisane ngiyabekisa noma lithi lingithengisela kuvula iaccount yemvana ngabe vele kuqinisekile yini sithi inkosi yami siyakubonga kakhulu lokho Maswati la khona ukuthi akwende lokho lokunye lesikubona kulamalanga Lulu ngema fake loans on Facebook lamanye emabhange ethu noma ke cishe emabhange uya notice Lulu ukuthi konke sekuthi go digital tinfo letiningi vele setendeka online nakucala iCovid invo letiningi sathatendeke online vele ukhanza ukuthi advertisement tinfo letiningi sesiyadenda kuma social media umehluko wethu kude la kuma social media noma la Facebook nangabe si advertise la stawuthi bese sithi click khona sine nje si advertise sisesina naku lokukhona ngekhathi ebhange laba bekunene bona babese sebathi clicka la nala noma ke facata la nala kuzungene utokhona ukuthi uqualifyele iloan yakho futhi lokunye lotawubona ngako mlaleli nawe mbukeli emakhaya kwekuthi laba bekunene batawuze bathi advertise bathi awutsinti impepha incumbi kuze uthole le loan lena siwabonile ke ma customer ethu nalapho ngosami ayaphela ukhanze ukuthi ngandledlana thite ngekufacata thite so ubaniketa imininingwane yakhe ekungena ekhasini lakhe lekubhanga ukhanze ukuthi leto tigebengu setihambisa imali ngoba naso umniketele imininingwane yakho yekungena so usitelo mvusa le abanguwe angena la khasini lakho lekubhanga kanti phela uma uvula iaccount nelibhangi siye sichazele kahle ukuthi leyo mniningwane leyo yakho wetfana akugamela ukuthi yatiwe ngilomnye umuntu lesiphinze sikusho lana sikugcizelela ukuthi singemabhange etsine noma ngabe siya advertise ku Facebook kude la start click khona sisuke siveta nje ukuthi kunani ebhange sonzela uthi sikhulume nathi usho ukuthi yini longa ekuba interested kiyo wena nyalo lolu liyana litulu sevela sekaqalile Maswati Nkosi yami seka advertisela nyalo nje kutabe ukuthi Black Friday lokulina seMaswati ethu siyathi ukuthi ayalima kakhulu kutabe kutane Black Friday sebaqalile ba advertise laba bekunene ku social media pages ba advertise timfo tekulima letishipili ba advertise timoto ba advertise nani lokunye lokukhona nje nyale Maswati futhi abebela ashirishelana titokfela tawo nakhona nako lokuba advertise siyacela singemabhangi ngosami Maswati kwekuthi usujaka kufaka imali tinfo tingake fiki ku noma ningakane netisi ukuthi vele lo mvule nikhuluma naye le ningamboni unguye mbamba noma nikhuluma netipoko letufuna kunebela imali siwabonile Maswati ethu lamanengi Lulu nawo khona lapho ngekuhungeka noma mhlambe ngekulingeka ukhanze ukuthi uyamfuna lo manyolo uyayifuna level lekata uthwala ngayo tilimo takhe noma mhlambe lo kwetitokfela bomakhe bese sebathi laba bekunene kuze sinibambele letinfo ngoba nibaningi lentifunako kungaba ngilokwekulima noma lokwetitokfela bufaka imali letsite sicela eMaswati nema customer ethu ngosami ungayifaki imali ungaqali uze uyifake imali hambani nifike ngetinyawo 10 ditfathe timvo tifike kini kungikhathi nibhadala nangabe mhlambe vele nenetiseke nabo laba bekunene labathengisako sesibafundzisile ukuthi abasufakele ama customer ethu ipressure ukuthi babhadale kuqala timvo tingake fiki kibo alenetiseke liswati noma loyo mthengi kwekuthi vele timvo nathi ngiyadibona futhi setiyafika tisetandleni tam kungikhathi abhadala aphelile eMaswati Lulu lokunye mhlambe lengifuna ukuveta lamanye eMaswati Lulu athanda ukuthi atabathole amabonus athola bo 13 check babo bathi bafuna ukubhadalela ti-school fees bathumele bamvana noma leto tihlobo noma lokunye kwabo baye uya notice phela Lulu ukuthi emabhange sekendele ukuthi ungabusangena ngekhathi ube ngama ATMs ngaphandle ukhona ukuthi udeposit cishe onke emabhangeni so uyakhona ukuthi udeposit ngaphandle nalapho ngosami amakhasimende ethu kunetshela kunekhutsata nekunecwayisa ukuthi kude lo yawuchamuka athi ucela kukusita kukubhadalela athathe imali ibe ngakuye nangabe mhlambe kukhona lo unganetiseki noma mhlambe lo ungakubone kahle ku-ATM nawuthi uzama kuyofaka imali ye-school fees esemvana ngena ngekhathi uvumelekile kusho ukuthi nase sifake ama-ATMs ngaphandle sesithi sale maswati angasangeni ngekhathi nabe khona lofuna ukubuda lesikwendile Lulu noma lesivele sikulungisile ukuthi babe baningi labasebenta emabhange labantu abangephandle balekelele emaswati batawubonakala ngetimpawu tsite kepha ke nangabe liswati ngosamvele linganetiseki lingatholi kahle imali yakho ayisuba ngakumuntu ayibe ngakuwe imali ingane noma ngabe kungilona losebenta la khathe ebhange usumnika imali yakho ukuthi azama ukukuseta ku-ATM imali ayihlali ingakuwe nangabe sekasijaka ukuthi imali ibuyise kimi yala nemali yakho noma ngabe uyambona ukuthi yabona ke lo ngenteka kuba usebenta khona ebhange yala nemali yakho imali ayifakwe nguwe ku-ATM Lulu sikucela nje Maswati
Kumele sinemizuzwana nje 3 minutes nje nemfundo ngifuna sikhulume naye ngoba vele kulamalanga sabesebenzisa kakhulu ama ATM kusevame kanganani vele labo ATM fraud bo card cloning ngabe nisawathole nema reports ukuthi vele abantu balahlekele imali tabo ngenxa yalobugebengu lobo
Ngiyabonga kakhulu Lulu. Imvamisa lokho bekusengasikabi ngolokuningi kakhulu la kangwane sikubonile emaveni la Jutani nuts. Ukhanze ukuthi inkosami ema customer ethu ngeke ungadi kahle kusebenzisa leyo machine. So uyafika laba bekunene ekuthenga ukuthi mhlambe usebenza kuleyo machine noma ungsecurity afune kumsita Dledlana tsite akope leyo pin bese sobaleka nelikhadi lakhe lamanye ama customer ethu asibikele ngaloko kepha ke nyalo ngeBlack Friday noma ke nyalo ngetikhathi tabo Christmas ezisishidwe ekucaleni angeke sikusho kuloko ukuthi angeke kube yinto lekhona kwexwayisa nje Maswati ukuthi likhadi lakho alibenga kuwe ipin yakho uma uyifaka ku ATM ngenda siqiniseke ukuthi uyayimbonya ngesandla sakho lesinye lesingachafati ibone ngowetfana futhi khumbula Lulu noma ke nawe mbukele emakhaya ukuthi uma u-ATM unelungelo lokumcela umuntu loseceleni kwakho ukuthi ngicela ukhoshele eceleni wena wekunene unginike space ngidokhona ukuthi ngibeke ATM yetfana sibafundisile nabo security bethu ukuthi akube netikhala emkhathisini kungabe sekuba nekusonzelana ngoba laba bekunene ujaka nje lokuthi akopele pin abese sozama kungenta ngathi uyamsita bisake imilikhadi make ngilokusita kanti ipin soyibonile athathe likhadi abaleke nalo kucela nje ukuthi unelungelo uma ku-ATM kwakuthi ngicela manje ukhoshele kancane wena wekunene ikhadi lakho alingesuka etandleni takho noma ngabe ke kunjalo lokunye kwako ukuthi uma ufaka ipin yakho ngaso sonke isikhathi mbonya ngesandla sakho lesinye lamanye ama ATM ethu emabhange sekavele akhiwe ngendlela lecophelele ukuthi na ufaka le pin ingede yabonakala ubone isandla sakho kuphela nangabe kwendekile ATM loyisebenzisako iteleto tinvise ngakafakwa mbonya ngesandla sakho sangasencele lo chafata ngaso sende sisho ukuthi simbonyekile lesinye kufihlekile nawe ukuthi ke Lulu Nkosi yami
30 seconds
okay yeah ngiyabonga kakhulu mbukeli cishe lokuningi cishe bese ngikushito ngiyabonga kakhulu
yeah but ke hopefully sizaphinde sibe nawe nemfundo ngalokho sivele solo sigubha nakuqala lomhla ka14 sigubha lona leviki lecwayisa sevesa Maswati ngato letindzaba leti lobugebengu lobo asasikhefu nasibuya sisatha tindzaba hata ngephandle
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.za. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. Let's take a look at international news. A Russian drone slammed into a tower block in eastern Ukraine early on Saturday while many were sleeping, killing 4 and injuring 12 people, Ukrainian authorities reported.
It's a Russian drone that slammed into this residential building in Dnipro, destroying several apartments. The strike was carried out in the middle of the night. Rescue forces evacuated residents, starting with those most seriously wounded, among them several children. Hours later, the cleanup was underway.
Children were under the rubble. They were taken by ambulance to Meshnikov Hospital. They are now in intensive care.
A Shahed flew right over us, and 2 or 3 minutes later it exploded. That's it. We survived because we were on that side. And it hit the 3rd floor, where they are now clearing the debris.
Some 25 locations were struck overnight, including Kharkiv, to the north of Dnipro, where an aerial attack wounded several people. This brought electricity cuts. Businesses and a gas station were damaged. Russia's target was an energy facility. The region of Odessa was also among those hit. Strikes on power infrastructure caused power cuts. Russia has been targeting Ukraine's energy grid in what Kyiv calls a weaponization of winter. Moscow says it only targets military and energy sites that serve Ukraine's war efforts. Meanwhile, Ukraine has also hit Russia's energy infrastructure in an effort to deprive Moscow of oil export revenue.
The Philippines evacuated hundreds of thousands of people on Sunday as a super typhoon Fungwung moved west towards the archipelago nation. The storm is set to bring wind and heavy rain to broad swathes of the country just 1 week after another typhoon.
Homes are still flattened and caked in mud. Scores of people remain missing, and now another typhoon is on its way to the Philippines. Emergency workers have had to halt rescue operations in the aftermath of deadly Typhoon Kelmegi and turn their attention to evacuating people to higher ground. In this church in the Sorsogon province, some sheltered on Saturday, praying Typhoon Fungwung would change course.
We decided to evacuate because the recent typhoon brought floods into our area, and now I just want to keep my family safe.
As Fungwung moved westward across the Philippine Sea on Saturday, it sustained wind speeds of 140 kilometres per hour. Weather forecasters warned its radius could span some 1,500 kilometres and cover almost the entire archipelago nation. Under the prospect of more heavy rains and floods, villagers were still mourning loved ones and holding vigils for those killed earlier in the week.
Our family is incomplete, with some members still missing, and we don't know if we will ever find them.
The Philippines is prone to typhoons, but Kelmegi was the deadliest of 2025, according to government figures. It dumped huge volumes of water in populated areas, claiming hundreds of lives before it churned on to Vietnam. Scientists have warned that the rapid intensification of typhoon events, powered by warmer temperatures, makes them difficult to predict and therefore particularly dangerous.
A record 13 people have died in over 100 bear attacks in Japan this year, with experts blaming food shortages as the animals venture further into residential areas.
Holes in walls, chairs scattered about, refrigerator doors ripped from their hinges. This is the aftermath of a bear probably looking for food in a hot spring onsen in northern Japan. The authorities killed it soon after the inn's owner called the authorities. This 68-year-old was taken by surprise when he opened his garage and he found a bear sitting inside.
I thought, it's over for me. This is how I'm going to die. I thought that I was going to be killed by that bear.
This map shows the number of non-fatal bear attacks in yellow and bear attack deaths in red. with a stark uptick in October. A record-setting 13 people have died in bear attacks since April, more than doubling the previous record set in 2023. More than 100 people have been wounded in attacks across the country. According to experts, a warming climate has produced an abundance of food for bears in the mountains, creating an ideal environment for them to thrive, leading to a twofold increase in Japan's brown bear population to 12,000 over 3 decades, and the swelling of its black bear population to 42,000. Some scientists are saying the mountains in certain areas are overcrowded. That, with a declining rural human population, means that the bears have more territory to themselves when they look for food.
There were many bear sightings in 2023, and those bears gave birth. Now those young bears are growing up and coming down to town. There are a huge number of bears in the mountains, and the strongest ones dominate, so weaker ones get pushed out.
To deal with the threat, the Japanese government has deployed the military to aid in trapping and hunting, while riot police are allowed to shoot the animals.
The October peace plan allowed those who had survived displacement from cities in Gaza to return home. In the heavily bombarded areas of Khan Yunis and Gaza City, however, they now face a new challenge, a growing public health crisis caused by the collapse of waste disposal infrastructure.
Those who have returned after being displaced during 2 years of Israeli operations in Gaza have found waste disposal infrastructure destroyed. Garbage has piled up, and disease and parasites proliferate. This father of 5 lives in a tent with his children and has contracted a skin infection.
People here had to live in this place because there are no places and there is no safe place in Gaza. This place is very, very difficult. It is full of diseases and epidemics because of war remnants, piles of garbage and the lack of sewage treatment.
Residents are reporting a high frequency of stomach infections and skin diseases, including sores, lice, and scabies. Doctors in the enclave say that open sewers, trash, and people being forced to live in close quarters are to blame.
Skin diseases have spread a lot because of overcrowding in tents, and the tents are next to garbage dumps. This led to an increase in mosquitoes, ants, and even lice. That and the large amount of garbage around tents resulted in some flies transmitting bacterial diseases.
With its healthcare system largely destroyed and aid still slow to trickle in, the territory is not equipped to cope with this fresh health crisis.
Heritage preservation groups in Italy are raising the alarm. Nearly 450 historic sites are reportedly at risk due to age and insufficient maintenance funding. Just days ago, a 13th century tower collapsed in central Rome, killing 1 person and seriously injuring 3 others. The tragedy has renewed calls for support from the private sector and the EU.
These images have become commonplace in Italy, with an increase in the number of incidents involving falling debris from church and monument facades, including a piece of marble falling from the porch of a church in the heart of Rome, and a pediment crumbling onto tourists in Palermo, causing minor injuries and giving the impression each time that a disaster has narrowly been averted. The partial collapse of this medieval tower last Monday near the Forum in Rome killed one of the workers involved in its renovation. That raised concern among the tens of thousands of tourists who visit the Forum each day.
If something like that can happen, it could definitely happen again.
The concern is shared by this architect. He walks just a short distance away from the damaged tower to point to a villa built in the 16th century.
Look, the windows are open, completely open. This villa has been abandoned for 50 years. Inside are the important Zuccari frescoes. Of course it's dangerous.
The architect and his association have identified more than 430 monuments in danger across Italy, including this section of the Aurelian Wall built in the 3rd century, which has been completely abandoned. While Italy has the largest number of UNESCO World Heritage monuments, recent governments, including Giorgia Meloni's, have continually reduced maintenance funding. Italy currently spends less public money as a percentage of GDP on culture and heritage than other European countries. UNESCO this summer called on Italy to invest heavily and develop a clear strategy to better protect its heritage and cultural tourism.
U.S. President Donald Trump gave Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban a one-year reprieve from sanctions for buying Russian oil and gas on Friday after the leaders heaped praise on each other during a meeting at the White House. Trump has pushed other EU countries to stop buying Russian oil, but he said landlocked Hungary was exempt as it is reliant on pipelines that lead to Russia.
It was smiles and compliments as US President Trump welcomed Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Meeting in Washington, the two men discussed economic cooperation and Russia's invasion of Ukraine. And just weeks after imposing what Trump called tremendous sanctions on Russian oil and gas, the US president has given Hungary a one-year exemption. Orban, who's a longtime Trump ally and critic of Western support for Ukraine, made his case and welcomed the decision.
We have concluded that Hungary is in a significantly different situation from other European countries. It is not possible to secure Hungary's energy supply and to provide affordable energy to Hungarian families and businesses if sanctions continue to be imposed on two key pipelines. We looked at the issue and we asked the president to lift the sanctions. We asked for two pipelines to be exempted from all sanctions.
International Monetary Fund figures show Hungary relied on Russia for 74% of its gas and 86% of its oil in 2024. It warned that an EU-wide cut-off of Russian natural gas alone could force output losses in Hungary exceeding 4% of GDP. Trump agreed that Hungary needed reprieve from the sanctions because of its landlocked position. He also accused other European countries of buying Russian oil and gas for years.
It's a great country, it's a big country, but they don't have sea, they don't have the ports. And so they have a difficult problem. But when you look at what's happened with Europe, many of those countries, they don't have those problems, and they buy a lot of oil and gas from Russia. And as they know, I'm very disturbed by that because we're helping them.
Shortly before Friday's exemption announcement, Ukraine's President Zelensky said they cannot let Russia profit from energy and said they would find a way to ensure no Russian oil was in Europe.
Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara arrived in the U.S. on Saturday, where he is due to meet with President Donald Trump at the White House, the first such visit by a Syrian president since the country's independence in 1946.
Ahmed al-Shara has worked to appear as moderate as possible since taking power in Syria. After swapping his combat uniform for a suit, the former jihadist has shared images of himself dropping his jacket to play basketball with U.S. troops. This before arriving for a historic visit in Washington. Al-Shara has already been in the U.S. in September, where he addressed the UN General Assembly. He has met with Donald Trump back in May in Riyadh. His immediate goal is to have all sanctions on Syria lifted permanently. This includes sanctions on industries and individuals. Donald Trump not only supports that, the U.S. is the one that brought the resolution lifting sanctions from al-Shara and his interior minister to the UN Security Council.
We're going to meet, and I think he's doing a very good job. It's a tough neighborhood. And he's a tough guy. You know, we took the sanctions off at the request of Turkey, at the request of actually Israel.
Because as Syria hopes to restart its economy, get international funds to rebuild itself after the devastating war, the U.S. has its own interests. It hopes Syria will join the international alliance against the Islamic State. The U.S. also plans to establish a military base near Damascus to monitor the situation on the ground. It hopes Syria and Israel would normalize their relations. This way, Iran would not be able to use Syrian territory to resume weapon deliveries to its ally Hezbollah in Lebanon. The U.S. would also monitor the humanitarian situation on the ground after attacks targeting religious minorities in several regions of Syria.
Airlines cancelled more than 1,000 flights on Friday and hundreds more for Saturday at major airports across the United States as they scrambled to comply with the Trump administration order to reduce air traffic amid growing concerns about the impact potential staffing shortages could have on aviation safety.
At Newark Airport, passengers patiently wait in line for security. With fewer TSA officers on duty, travellers are facing longer waits if their flights aren't cancelled altogether. Nearly 2,000 flights in the US are either cancelled or delayed this Friday after airlines were told to cut traffic.
I just showed up, 2 hours early like you're recommended to, but once I saw this line, I got a little worried.
I travel a lot for work, and so I'm really concerned about that and getting to where I need to be for business purposes, right? This really can affect businesses. It's not just personal travel.
The government shutdown, which started over a month ago, has prevented many federal employees, like air traffic controllers and airport security staff, from getting paid. It means many are calling sick or taking side jobs to make ends meet.
You have an air traffic controller who's not 100% focused on the job at hand. They have to be 100%, 100% of the time. But now they're worried about putting gas in their car. They're worried about putting food on the table. They can't even pay for childcare in some instances. So as that risk increases, you have to begin reducing the capacity of the system and take down the number of flights in order to ensure the safety of it.
The Trump administration has ordered a 4% capacity reduction at 40 busy US airports on Friday. The cut will increase up to 10% by next Friday if no deal is reached to end the government shutdown, meaning up to 4,000 flights per day could be affected. Airlines have scrambled to adjust their schedules, deciding which flights to cut, most assuring customers they'll be able to get full refunds. But with Thanksgiving just weeks away, there is concern that millions of passengers won't make it to their families for the holidays.
The Supreme Court on Friday granted the Trump administration's emergency appeal to temporarily block a court order to fully fund SNAP food and aid payments amid the government's shutdown, even though residents in some stages already have received the funds.
More than 40 million Americans rely on food assistance. The federal government funds what's known as the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, or SNAP. Individual states administer the payments. The Trump administration had faced a judge-ordered Friday deadline to fully fund the program after it said it would only do so partially in November. That order came from a district judge in Rhode Island. The Trump administration took the ruling to the Supreme Court, which decided the president could temporarily withhold funds. Trump's attorney general posted online saying, "The Supreme Court has just granted our administrative stay in this case. Our attorneys will not stop fighting day and night to defend and advance President Trump's agenda." The SNAP dispute temporarily withholds around $4 billion in funding. It is center stage in what is the longest ever government shutdown in the United States, now in its 6th week. This food bank serving Washington, Northern Virginia, and 2 counties in Maryland is preparing for a surge in demand.
We started the year anticipating providing about 50 million meals of food to our community. And it looks like we will have to increase that by at least 20% and provide about 60 million meals into our community.
Some seeking help from the food bank are federal government employees impacted by the shutdown.
Considering that the future is pretty unpredictable, and because I have gone without a couple of paychecks, I decided to come here and take advantage of this really generous opportunity.
The food bank is helping fill the gap as Trump pushes on with his agenda.
Zoran Mamdani's election as New York City's next mayor marks a historic first for South Asians in the U.S. His campaign, drawing on his family's roots in India, emphasized returning power to the people, tackling socioeconomic inequality, and honoring the city's multi-faith identity. Some have even compared the young politician's rhetoric to that of Indian independence leader Jawaharlal Nehru.
A new dawn for New Yorkers, ushered in with words that recall the newly independent India of his ancestors.
Standing before you
I think of the words of Jawaharlal Nehru. A moment comes but rarely in history when we step out from the old to the new, when an age ends and when the soul of a nation long suppressed finds utterance.
A break from the past, more than 7 decades after Nehru evoked the same idea as the first Prime Minister of India. In his 1947 Tryst with Destiny speech, he spoke of his ambition to free the common man and end poverty. Tackling socio-economic inequality has also been a feature of Mamdani's campaign, pushing for a more affordable city for its residents. And in a multi-ethnic, multi-religious society like India, Nehru was a staunch defender of secularity, standing against religious discrimination. A position echoed by Mamdani, who's underlined that pluralism is something to be celebrated and has resolved to tackle Islamophobia and anti-Semitism.
I look forward to being a mayor for every single person that calls this city home. Not just those who voted for me in the Democratic primary, not just those that vote for me in this general election, but all 8.5 million New Yorkers. And that includes Jewish New Yorkers who may have concerns or opposition to the positions that I've shared about Israel and Palestine. The issue...
Zohran Mamdani's parents were both born in India, his mother an award-winning filmmaker, his father an academic. He's reached out to the diaspora in New York by embracing a Bollywood aesthetic, speaking Hindi in campaign videos,
तुमने कभी किसी को वोट किया? कभी किसी को रैंक किया? देखो, यहाँ न्यूयॉर्क सिटी में हम रैंक चॉइस वोटिंग.
and wrapping up his victory speech with a mic drop scored to a Bollywood banger, Dhoom Machale.
Pro-business conservative Rodrigo Paz was sworn in as Bolivia's new president on Saturday, ushering a new era after nearly 20 years of one-party rule. As he took office, Paz vowed that Bolivia would open up to the world after 2 decades of leftist rule that many blame for the country's economic ills.
It's the start of a new political chapter in Bolivia. Rodrigo Paz was officially inaugurated as the country's president on Saturday. As a pro-business conservative, he is the first non-socialist leader in nearly 20 years. In his speech, Paz promised greater international cooperation.
Welcome to Bolivia. This is the new Bolivia that is opening up to the world. Thank you. Presidents, vice presidents, foreign ministers, heads of delegations. Never again an isolated Bolivia, subjected to failed ideologies, even less a Bolivia with its back turned to the world.
As part of this pledge to open up, diplomatic relations at ambassadorial level will be restored between Bolivia and the US. The former president, Evo Morales, expelled Washington's ambassador in 2009, accusing him of supporting a right-wing conspiracy. But despite the optimism, the newly inaugurated president has a big challenge ahead of him. Bolivia is going through its worst economic crisis in 40 years. Inflation is sitting at more than 20%, and there are high food prices and long lines for fuel. For Paz, the leftist policies of the past did not work.
We also said capitalism for everyone. Capitalism to produce, capitalism to have resources, some money, to be able to have the right to affordable credit, to be able to move forward, and not only for a few powerful people.
The ceremony was attended by delegations from more than 70 countries and included presidents from several South American countries, including Argentina, Chile, and Ecuador.
France has urged its citizens in Mali to leave immediately as Islamist insurgents maintain their blockade of the country. The French Foreign Ministry recommended that citizens use commercial flights while they are still available and avoid traveling overland. The 2-month-long fuel blockade enforced by an Al-Qaeda-linked group has disrupted daily life in the capital, Bamako, and other parts of the landlocked West African nation.
These taxi drivers in Bamako are waiting for clients, but not French or American ones. Asked how they feel about France calling its nationals to leave Mali due to insecurity, most of them say French nationals should leave Mali and not return.
We must not allow them to return. We must chase away all French people from our territory and show the whole world, the whites, that they are insignificant in our affairs.
For 2 months, the ruling junta has faced a jihadist offensive. The Jnim, a group linked to al-Qaeda, have blocked roads leading to major cities like Bamako, Kayes, and Nioro, making fuel deliveries almost impossible and paralyzing parts of the country. Truck drivers who try to ride on these roads are attacked almost daily, which is why drivers have decided to no longer cross into Mali.
We preferred parking our truck because the road is really dangerous. It isn't good for our business, but we have to, because we are too afraid to go to Mali right now.
Junta leader Assimi Goïta had promised to bring back security when he seized power. In his recent message, he addressed the fuel shortage crisis.
The government is currently seeking solutions, but some must be found at a family level. Those who are used to going out 10 times with their cars or motorcycles must understand that we're in a difficult period. There's not enough fuel.
Meanwhile, Italian-Swiss shipping company MSC has decided to suspend all deliveries to Mali.
With COP30 kicking off on Monday, world leaders are set to discuss new strategies to reduce greenhouse gas emissions, with a particular focus on the shipping industry. One potential solution is methanol, now being produced on a large scale for the first time in Denmark.
As climate change worsens and fossil fuels run out, finding new green energy sources is of the essence. The world's first large-scale e-methanol facility in Kusile, Denmark, is trying to foster the green transition. E-methanol is made using renewable energy by splitting a water atom with an electrolyzer and then combining the pure hydrogen in a reactor tower with biogenic carbon dioxide. European Energy, the company that co-owns the facility, intends for e-methanol to be a green alternative to traditional methanol made with fossil fuels.
The world market today is 100 million tons of methanol. And part of the consumers of that wants to green their supply chain. So it can be in shipping for fuel, which is actually new for methanol. That's even an additional use of methanol.
Decarbonizing the shipping sector, which has grown to account for about 3% of global emissions, is a focus for global leaders and an issue set to be discussed at COP30 in Belém, Brazil on Monday. E-methanol could help green the industry by replacing the large amount of fossil fuels used by vessels to transport cargo across the globe. However, environmental experts warn it may not be a cost-effective solution.
Given the electricity is green, the e-methanol is also green. But this is also a very energy demanding and therefore expensive technology. And we can get 5 times higher climate benefit from using the green electricity to power, for example, an electric car compared to using it for e-methanol.
European Energy's CEO, Eric Anderson, says the company expects price parity with fossil fuels by 2030. Even so, the facility's current e-methanol production capacity is 40,000 tons annually, a ways away from replacing the 100 million ton global market for methanol produced with fossil fuels.
Elon Musk may be expanding his lead over other billionaires with a new pay package from Tesla. Shareholders voted to give the CEO stock worth $1 trillion if he hits every ambitious performance target. This comes as Tesla sales have dropped due to Elon Musk's involvement in politics, with a report from Europe showing they plunged again last month, including a 50% collapse in Germany.
With over 75% voting in favor, approved.
This vote could eventually make Elon Musk the world's first trillionaire. If Tesla's CEO hits a series of ambitious targets, he would get $1 trillion in stocks. Musk will have to deliver 20 million electric cars over 10 years, more than twice the number Tesla has sold so far. He will also have to increase the company's market value to roughly 6 times its current level. Tesla would also have to sell some 1 million of these human-like robots. To produce them and many of Tesla's other projects, Musk is planning to build a gigantic chip plant.
It's like literally, the faster you make the chips, the faster we send them money, but it's still not going at fast enough.
The plan is to transform Tesla into an AI powerhouse, which would also operate hundreds of thousands of self-driving cars.
I think the rate at which we receive regulatory approval will roughly match the rate of Cybercab production. And I'd like to thank Waymo for paving the path here. It's very helpful.
Waymo is Tesla's biggest competitor in the self-driving car business. Shareholders opposed to the deal say Musk has acted recklessly recently, that the deal is too big. But others said the incentive had to be huge to keep Musk interested. The billionaire had threatened to leave had the package not been voted.
And that's it for international news. Thank you for staying with us. We go for an ad break. Don't go anywhere.
Eswatini TV has signed a code of conduct that is enforced by the Eswatini Communications Commission. We are committed to reporting news that is accurate, comment that is fair, and programming that does not amount to hate speech or the description of gratuitous violence or explicit sex. For any complaints of our programming, please contact us on 2411-9600 or email info@eswatinitv.co.sz. You can also contact the Eswatini Communications Commission on 2406-7000 or write a letter to ECCOM on PO Box 7811 Mbabane. Email address is info@ecom.org.sz.
Wow, what a house. Maybe a little much for me though. Okay, this is probably more like what I can afford. Unless I could borrow the money to get something a little bigger. Perfect. But borrowing means that I could be in debt. And for a lot of people, that can be intimidating. But debt is really just a way of borrowing money with the promise of paying it back with interest. That sounds okay, right? Unless I would take out a big loan that I couldn't pay back. People take out loans all the time to buy houses, cars, to pay for school, all sorts of things. And it's not just people. Companies also borrow, and governments do it too. When a government borrows, it's called public debt or sovereign debt. Governments raise this money by issuing bonds and then selling them to the public with a guarantee that they'll pay them back. Just like people, countries need money to buy or build stuff that their income, mostly tax revenues, won't entirely pay for. Governments should invest their money wisely in things that help their citizens. Think of education or healthcare. Governments can also invest in things that will generate revenue or grow the economy, like infrastructure projects. Governments can also use the money to reduce taxes or they can give it directly to its citizens who need the support. So, why are economists sometimes concerned by public debt? Well, for all the benefits that these funds can bring, there are also risks. Let's take two countries to demonstrate. Here's country A, and here's country B. Now, let's say both of them have borrowed roughly the same amount of money at roughly the same time. But looking closer, we can see they have very different economies, notably in size, measured by their gross domestic product, or GDP. Let's look at their debt levels again, but this time as a percentage of their GDP. And wow, you see the difference? Same debt, but very different outcomes. Countries are able to manage their debt when they borrow a reasonable amount relative to their ability to pay it. Country A's economy is big enough to pay the interest on the debt. If country B cannot pay things back, well, it gets harder to convince investors to lend you more money. And that is scary because it only gets harder from there. If an economic crisis hits, one of these guys will have the funds they need to respond. The other is going to need some help. The trick here is for governments, like country B, to invest the money they borrow wisely, which can help keep debt manageable. So, where does that leave me in my new house? Well, first, I need to adjust my own budget. I don't need that. You're gone. Definitely gone. And second, debt isn't about living beyond my means. It's about borrowing a reasonable amount relative to my ability to pay it, even if I do splurge every now and again.
kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi
aba-researche bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna senze ukukhiqiza nokusebenzisa.
Welcome back. With a 79.5 trillion balance sheet, JP Morgan is more valuable than its three biggest Wall Street rivals combined. And much of that success may be due to its longtime leader, Jamie Dimon. But talk of a successor now has many wondering who could fill his shoes. There's a report.
The name of the game in American capitalism, especially American financial capitalism, is being big, and no one is bigger on Wall Street than JP Morgan Chase.
How big is it? With a $4.6 trillion balance sheet, it holds around 20% of all the money in the US banking system. JP Morgan is more valuable than its three biggest rivals combined.
Last year, JP Morgan earned the highest profit in the history of American banking. They became the only bank to ever crack $50 billion in profit. There are a few different ways that you can measure a bank's success. You can look at profit, market value, asset size, but there's also staying power.
There is essentially no figure in the history of modern finance who has won power and kept it like Jamie Dimon.
Jamie Dimon is a great banker. I think he's been the head of JP Morgan for 17 years, something like that.
This country is a lot better off because Jamie Dimon has been running JP Morgan.
But the success of Jamie Dimon and JP Morgan casts a long shadow.
When you think about it, it's more of a question mark than an exclamation point. What is going to happen to this gigantic bank after its longtime CEO leaves? No one really knows.
For 20 years, Dimon has led JP Morgan's ascent of Wall Street, financial dominance that manifests itself like this: its new headquarters on Park Avenue.
JP Morgan is about to get essentially its own little mini neighborhood, a kind of Jamie Dimonville, if you will.
This was a labor love to have a physical embodiment which represents our company.
JP Morgan has something like 17,000 employees in New York City, making it one of the city's largest private employers. So they have their new building, which will hold about 10,000 of them. Then you look across the street to 383 Madison, that's the old Bear Stearns headquarters, and then they bought 250 Park.
And despite his noted opinions on work from home,
And don't give me the that work from home Friday works.
People join JP Morgan because they want to work for Jamie Dimon, this legendary CEO, Dean of Wall Street.
He just wants his people and his organization to be the best. And so he brings his A game and he expects the people around him to do the same.
all of this adds to the Dimon aura, unfaltering Wall Street confidence mixed with, at times, unpredictable candor.
The debt ceiling is potentially catastrophic. That hurricane is right out there down the road coming our way.
I probably shouldn't say this, but when you see one cockroach, there are probably more.
He just says what he thinks.
Absolutely not, and that would be the road to hell for America.
Over the years, as Jamie Dimon has evolved into this more statesman-like role that he's taken atop the finance industry, he wades further and further into policy and things that aren't directly touching banking. Jamie Dimon had a long-running joke that he would be there 5 more years, no matter when asked.
I love what I do.
He was 69 years old. He's had a couple health issues over the years, including throat cancer more than a decade ago, and more recently, a heart issue in 2020. And JP Morgan actually had to appoint temporary co-CEOs while he recovered.
Though he keeps coming back for more, eventually he will retire. But when and who will fill his shoes is anyone's guess.
There have been some iterations of potential successors that have ended up all leaving to go take, another big job or leaving to retire. The 3 current likeliest contenders to take over for Jamie Dimon when he eventually retires are Troy Rohrbaugh and Doug Petno, who run the Commercial and Investment Bank, and Marianne Lake, who runs the Consumer and Community Bank. But they're the latest in a series of likely contenders, and there are always more coming up the chain at JP Morgan. At the same time, for JP Morgan investors, there really is this Jamie Dimon premium where they're most interested in more Jamie.
Historically, this sort of cult of personality in business is often called the key man risk. Where would Amazon be without Bezos? Or Tesla without Musk? So too is Dimon to JP Morgan.
Well, it's certainly true that Jamie Dimon's tenure atop JP Morgan overall has been very successful by a lot of measures. It hasn't been all rainbows and butterflies. For example, in 2012, there was a $6 billion trading loss called the London Whale. Jamie was called to testify in front of Congress a couple times. In some cases, he actually thrived in the congressional hearings. He had some lawmakers asking him for advice on the economy.
I would like to come away from the hearing today with some ideas on what you think we need to do, what we maybe need to take apart that we've already done.
Another episode involved the acquisition of Frank, a financial planning platform for students that led to its founder being convicted of defrauding the bank.
But when all is said and done, they paid $175 million for it, which amounted to 3 hours of revenue that year. So that's a great example of how these kind of missteps become more embarrassments than anything else.
JP Morgan has been able to survive these missteps, whether big or small, because of its fortress balance sheet.
Fortress Dimon is always about the balance sheet.
Fortress balance sheet is a term that Jamie Dimon has been using throughout his entire career. It's constant stress tests. It's looking across the range from best possible outcome to worst possible outcome and making sure that JP Morgan can weather that storm.
When you think about risk, think about things that can go terribly wrong. Can you survive them?
Still, when it comes to the government's annual stress tests and other regulations JP Morgan is subject to, Dimon is a critic.
There are a lot of rules that Jamie Dimon does not like.
It's just more regulations and more rules and more requirements.
One of his governing principles on the topic of regulation is that it should not be so complicated. He has his famous spaghetti chart, which is a graph of all the overlapping regulators that JP Morgan deals with, and he often will carry around a paper version of that, especially when he's in DC.
But despite all the regulations, government hasn't kept the bank from growing.
We can look at the financial crisis when much of the building blocks of the modern JP Morgan were built. JP Morgan rescued Bear Stearns, which gave them a far larger trading business. They scooped up Washington Mutual after it failed. So the JP Morgan that came out of the great financial crisis was a much different, much larger JP Morgan than the one going in.
Are you too big to fail?
I don't know what that word means anymore.
One irony of the global financial crisis is that the thing that we associate it with, being too big to fail, ended up resulting in a landscape where the biggest banks got even bigger.
At the time, Jamie Dimon had only been CEO of JP Morgan for a couple of years, but he did warn about the excesses in subprime mortgage lending in an annual letter to shareholders. Looking back at that letter now, he was clearly right.
A year ago, we were worried about banks that were too big to fail. But in the last year, big banks have gotten bigger.
It is sort of the tragic failure about the regime we came in with.
For all the unrest, the regime would remain largely unchanged. Years later, JP Morgan would benefit from a crisis yet again in a government-led deal.
The US is pushing First Republic to be rescued with banks after the stock slumps.
First Republic was a regional bank based in California that really focused on serving wealthy clients until it failed in 2023.
The United States government literally had rules on the book to stop JP Morgan from getting an even bigger portion of deposits in this country. And then when First Republic got in trouble, that same government allowed JP Morgan to buy it.
First Republic will now be taken over by JP Morgan.
Between that and Silicon Valley Bank's failure paved the way for JP Morgan to dial up their desire to be the go-to bank for the venture capitalist and startup ecosystem.
The bank also constantly assesses the competitive landscape.
What is Block doing? What is Citadel Securities doing? What is Apple doing? And really, try to make sure that someone like Apple doesn't come in and eat their lunch.
Because JP Morgan is pretty much everywhere, Dimon's successor will inherit not only the firm's vast empire, but a pivotal role in the stability of the US and global economy.
You think about the fortress balance sheet concept and practically what that's meant for JP Morgan and Jamie Dimon over time, and it's JP Morgan constantly emerging bigger and stronger from crises that have taken other firms down.
The rules of Wall Street, informally speaking, are to make as much money as you can legally and to lose money as infrequently as possible. JP Morgan has been very, very good at that playbook.
All right, that was just a clip from Bloomberg updating you on the latest developments from Bloomberg. We go for a net break now. We speak to Kusile from RENAC after the break. Don't go anywhere.
Kude lesinye isikhathi ngaphandle kwalesi.
Aba research bafunze.
Being risky means ukuthi nalokuwa kwayo kulula.
Nathi kufuna sende ukukhiqiza lokusembili.
All right, welcome back. You're still watching Kusile Breakfast Show. Thank you for staying with us. Our last interview now speaks to this peak travel season that is almost here. In fact, it is here, if we're really being honest. And with December's pressure, the delays and full flights on the horizon, preparation becomes everything. And today, we want to unpack holiday readiness with Eswatini Air, the national carrier under RENAC's aviation portfolio. From Eswatini's destinations and frequencies to check-in times, baggage rules, online payment policies, as well as passenger experience, we're getting you ahead of the curve. Joining us is RENAC's Marketing and Communications Manager, Kusile. She's going to help us navigate the busiest travel weeks with clarity, confidence, and the right information at your fingertips. We're always excited for the holiday season. You know my birthday is in December, and I think you'll owe me a gift there. But I'm sure you must be stressed. Are you stressed, or you're just excited as we are?
About December?
Yeah.
For us, it's sort of like normal, except that we get to work when everybody is resting, especially the technical team.
Yeah.
So I'm not quite stressed, but getting the hang of it.
Getting the hang of it. It's interesting because, thinking about it, people travel throughout the year. But in December, it gets hectic. It gets really crazy. So I want us to understand the network readiness. How ready are you? When we talk December, January game plan, what are we talking about?
Basically, for Eswatini, it remains the same, save for we sometimes have to reduce some frequencies, actually, contrary to the peak season.
Yeah.
So somewhere around December, you find that people have traveled and they prefer to be home now with their relatives anyway in the world. So you find that where we had like 3 frequencies, like Joburg, where we have 3 frequencies on certain days, we have to cut down because the traffic is not as high as we think. So the people plan ahead and they travel ahead. So yeah, we do have those days.
And I'm sure there's peak weeks. Are you adding any flights for those weeks?
So far, because our market actually is such short notice, late. So it's not quite easy so far to check and track the numbers in terms of that. But we do when the demand, proves us that way. Yeah.
Okay. So and then for the travelers that are planning their December trip, what are the key timelines that they should look into in terms of online check-in or cut-off, all of those things?
Okay, for planning purposes, we often advise that you buy your tickets early. December is generally peak season in aviation. So their fares get a bit higher because of, the demand-supply dynamics.
Right.
With the airlines, it's not so bad as it is with the accommodation establishments. I think those are the trouble because those are the determining factors of your vacation anyway, if you're getting accommodation wherever you're going, unless you're going home or something like that.
Yeah.
So with check-in, I think that's a story we have to come here, especially for our local market, to literally unpack, because we still have those people that think they must just show up at the time the flight is supposed to depart.
Yeah.
Check-in opens, physical check-in opens 2 hours before the departure and closes an hour. We usually say an hour. It's 40 minutes, but it's safer to say an hour before the flight takes off. So online check-in closes 3 hours before our physical check-in opens, so that we can do the logistics.
Okay, that makes sense. I mean, every holiday season, there's always the conversation around baggage, which often slows people down. Carry-on size, handling valuables, gifts, perishables, all those things. How can passengers avoid unnecessary fees or delays here?
With baggage, for example, Eswatini Air gives 23 kg of checked baggage and 7 kg of carry-on.
Okay.
We allow laptop bag and a handbag. So travelers do the most, hey? They will come with the carry-on luggage, a laptop bag, stashed with clothes and other stuff, and a handbag, plus maybe some extra plastic bags. That is not really recommended, because one thing most people don't know about MI Airlines, they have more maximum and minimum takeoff weight. So that's why the baggage issues are very critical, because it's also dependent on your aircraft type and size. So ours is a smaller one. So to avoid lama delays, because those things do cause delays, because there's also processes of getting those bags into the plane, So to avoid lama delays, vele pack light, take your carry-on if you can. If good testing of a bigger bag, just pack your things in the carry-on and then you can check in online, because online check-in is easier now in a carry-on. If you have a bag, you still have to go and queue for your bag, because we still don't have those technologies in most of our airports where you can just drop your bag and send it through.
People just want to travel with their whole wardrobe sometimes.
Hey, our ladies more especially, they need 5 different outfits.
With men, it's never that kind of issue. It's a few men that do that. When it comes to online payments and verification, many travelers now book online, which is great. And it speaks to how we're developing as a nation. What should they know about card verification? That's one. Proof of payment requirements, as well as any other T's and C's that they need to meet before they check in.
Eswatini Air uses 3D secure payment. So we do not joke around those things, because, online can easily be hacked. So we use very secure systems. We accept MasterCard, Visa card, American card, but there's T's and C's that apply there. Your card must be 3D secure, at least, because we don't want situations whereby I take your card and I do the payment and you don't even know and stuff like that, and then it comes to us. Yeah, so we verify those things. So there's a lot of declines around there. So also some people should check with their banks, because you find that I live in Eswatini, but I'm Zimbabwean, origin. So my bank is back home, but we didn't update on the bank side, my physical location and things like that, and you'll have declines. So I think that one we really need to factor in. Our reservations must be contacted for that to verify stuff online.
And when we talk passenger experience on short sectors, which is quite key as well, because for all your economy short flights, there's a conversation around service commitments that passengers can expect, really. Refreshments, seating, special needs support, an important conversation.
Yes, these ones, we really need to unpack it, because we spoke about kusugumisa le market in Eswatini. So a lot of people really don't know much about aviation. So these are topics we should really dig deeper into as time goes on. But for now, Eswatini Air is a full service airline, which means we offer meals on board, not at extra cost like other airlines now do. So today we have all meals on board, whether short sector or Cape Town, which is our longest. What we do, we check the flight times, determine what kind of meal you get. Snacks and stuff are common at Jozi. But for your Harares and your Cape Town, you usually have decent meals there, because it's like 2 hours, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
So also, we are next to Uhambeni. You will have a breakfast, coffee and stuff, but the others is just snacks and drinks and stuff like that.
So I shouldn't have to worry if I'm almost late for my flight and I'm worried about having my breakfast in the house. I'll always have something.
Definitely, breakfast, we offer it, it's decent enough, actually. We have gone overboard with that.
It's only right.
Yeah, so what are the other components you mentioned?
Special seating, special needs support and seating.
Okay, we have what we call SSR, special service requirements. Most of them you apply before time, like if you want your halal meal or specifics like that. Sichele in advance at the time of reservations. Even if you do it online, contact Eswatini and ask us, can I have this type of meal, so that we order it on time. Where we can, we tell you, so we have this one, we can't offer this one. Then they are the paid for and not paid for. So the details of it now are reservations. If you need a wheelchair assistance, you tell us on time, so that we organize and know how many we need, and the logistics, or ground handling, what do they do, Banigetan and our cabin crew, so that the process is as smoother. But sitting requirements, you pay for it, when you pre-book, like online. But I think for now we had halted that payment. I think it was 50 malangini. But when you check in, you can request any seat that you want, and Lapo it's free. So we check in ever free.
Sabile, thank you for your time. I'm afraid our time is run out, but we do want to promise our viewers that you will be a regular on our show for the next coming Mondays, leading up to the next month as well, just keeping you abreast with every important information and detail that you need to know as you plan your holiday trips, whether you're coming into Eswatini or you are leaving Eswatini. Stay with us for the next coming weeks. Indeed, and you shall be finished with that kind of information. Thank you for staying with us on Kusile Breakfast Show. This has been the Monday edition. Enjoy the rest of your day. Goodbye.
the day you take Christ into your life, you begin to walk in a blessing.
Emaswati Master ushiya simakazi sibukela abanye bonkulunkulu uNkulunkulu utawukhwesha kithi emaswati singamlahli uNkulunkulu
sitomdumisa sisho sithi